Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us from wherever in the world you are right now. My name is Micah Branch. I'm one of the retreat interns for the 2025 PARC Playwrights Retreat. And I'm joined by one of the members of our Playwrights cohort this year, Alison Crosby, the playwright for Irrelevant. Alison, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good. How are you?
I'm good. It is a beautiful day outside right now, so I feel very lucky to be here to chat and talk about playwriting, our writing processes, how we're finding Tantramar so far.
The first time I did the park retreat, I was graduating in my fourth year. So to be back there, I think does definitely put me in a very productive mindset. Sometimes it's like visions of, oh yeah, remember that time I had to pull an all-nighter because I forgot to write an essay for like my political science class. And sometimes it's, oh yeah, remember the time I spent the entire night at like the Motu Fancy Theater writing my application to the park retreat back in 2016. So yeah, it's a big nostalgia place for me, but I think it's a perfect place to have a retreat.
That's so lovely. I understand. I'm also an MFT upcoming alum. It's such a nice community. Both of us interns are drama students here. And I'm learning as we go through this retreat who is like a part or previously was a part of the Mount A community. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, another one. Oh, another one. Like, it extends far and wide, which I think is fantastic.
Mhm.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about your script. Tell us about your story you're working on, and why you feel it was important to tell this story right now.
Yeah, this one I'm gonna struggle with. Um, yeah, this is a play that I've been working on in different iterations for a long time. It's subject matter that I've been interested in for a good part of a decade, probably
Hmm.
longer. Um, and really at its heart, when it's done, Irrelevant is going to be about our expectations around legacy and what we expect to leave behind when we die. Um, which I've written about before, but this time I'm writing about it from a more comedic perspective and also adding in an element of a little whodunit mystery, because I wanted to make things more difficult on myself for some reason. And yeah, I think this is an interesting thing to talk about now because there's so much consumerism that is starting to infiltrate the funeral services industry in a new way. So you'll hear things about people paying a lot of money to have their ashes rocketed into space so that after they die, they end up in outer space, literally or different graveyards around Nova Scotia that are starting to become environmental burial friendly. So you can turn yourself into a tree. And what that kind of means for our expectations of our lives and what we think our lives mean after they're over. So it's extremely ironically relevant because it's something everybody has to consider at some point or another, but we're kind of grappling with the idea of feeling irrelevant at the same time.
Hmm. That's beautiful. I think there's value to trying to untangle that tangled web of what is a valuable service to offer versus, taking advantage of people at their most vulnerable.
Yeah,
Um,
and somehow it's a comedy.
yeah, yeah, and somehow it's really funny. Which I think theater is good to explore that uh, contrast, these two very differing energies in one spot. I would love to hear. I'm sure you've answered this question before in your previous iterations of being a park retreat cohort, but where do you draw your inspiration from? Either like other playwrights or storytellers who inspire you with their works, or like themes you keep coming back to, or things like that.
Mm. Yeah, I think most people that write or try to write are going to say that they're inspired by other writers. Um, I definitely feel my most inspired when I am reading work that I love, even if it has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. There's nothing more inspiring than seeing someone who did what you're trying to do, even
Mhm.
if it's a completely different topic. So, reading a great line in a play and trying to figure out how they got there or reading a book and just hitting a section that just like punches you in the gut. Um, and yeah, you see that other people have done it and have done it successfully, and it has impacted your experience of that media, and then you want to do it too. Um, yeah, like one specific example is I went on tour with Let's Run Away by Daniel McIver, and I always say like that's the play that probably changed my life the most. And one of the things I admire the most about that script, and if you haven't read it, everyone should read it. But there's this letter in the play, and the letter is 7 words long. And there's a bit of preamble to opening the letter and finding out what those 7 words are, and then you hear the 7 words. And for me, it was like, oh, that's my whole life.
Yeah.
Those 7 words are my whole life and my whole existence. And so how do you read that and not think, I mean, obviously I'm never gonna do that, but how do you read that or experience that and not think I wanna impact someone some way, somehow, something in a similar way?
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Um, this must, I imagine it must be different, or maybe it's exactly the same to be coming back to the retreat. How has your experience changed this time? Either, how you might have changed as a playwright, or the world around you that changed.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I was just so excited to get back to Mauna that I kind of didn't think about it until my first night when I was back in Anchorage House and sitting at like the same kind of desk and remembering, oh yeah, like our beds had wheels and like all of these things coming back to me from when I was a student. Um, I guess my first time at the retreat, I got to work with Dawn Hannah, who is a huge reason why I still write now, even if it's a little bit more seldom than I would prefer. Uh, and he told me in my first iteration of the retreat to not expect to come out with a play.
Yeah.
He was like, "This is an experiment for you." He was like, you're so young, you're just starting out, like don't put that pressure on yourself. And at the time, my next door neighbor in Anchorage House was Ryan Griffith, who was writing Fortune of Wolves, which is one of my favorite plays of all time, and something like 200,000 words or something ridiculous. And so he was kind of like, let's not compare ourselves to other retreat participants. So I actually went in with 4 short plays that were all about 10 pages. And two of the characters from one of those stories are 2 characters in the play I'm writing now
Wow.
because they've just always stuck with me. And I've always wanted to write the bigger version of their story. I've just never known what it was. So that's how I started writing Irrelevant. So I think in some ways I haven't changed at all because I'm still writing about these 2 people. But at the same time, I feel like I've learned so much from incredible artists, and I've had so many opportunities that if you told me 9 years ago, the people I would meet, the things I would see, the places I would go, I would be pretty much in shock. Yeah, so I'm just feeling very grateful. Just, yeah, classic. Just grateful to be there.
That's so beautiful. Something that also I'm becoming more and more aware of as I go through this retreat is that there are very, very different ways to write or create a play.
Right? Yeah,
A lot of,
I get actually, I think every idea I've ever had for a play, I've had while walking.
hmm,
I very rarely crack the code sitting at my laptop. So I go for a lot of walks and I read a lot of books and I think about things that are not my play, and then these images just come into my brain, and if I like them, I write them in my notes app. My notes app on my phone, I'm not kidding, probably has like 500 notes that are just me saying worm monologue or a line of dialogue that I think would be interesting, or oh, this is what this person needs to say to this person in this scene. And it's super annoying because sometimes it's not the play that I'm working on. Like I was telling Santiago, while I was getting ready for the retreat, I came up with all of these lines for my last play. I'm like, oh, this is what she should say to her in this scene. I'm like, okay, irrelevant.
yeah, how very topical.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. How fun to be coming back with a different play as well. And, hopefully in the future we will see you back for the worm monologues compiled into a piece. But I want to thank you so much, Alison. Is there anything else you feel like you want to share with the world that maybe you feel folks who might want to be in your shoes someday could hear right now?
Oh, I would say if you want to be at the retreat, submit that application. I submitted my first application when I was 20 years old, and literally someone told me not to bother. I said I was going to apply for the retreat, and they were like, "Oh, you're still a student. They don't take students. Don't waste your time." And I was like, "I think I'm gonna waste my time." And
Mhm.
I threw out my little four short plays about like a fish and two people working in a government office and someone getting drunk at a funeral and something else. And yeah, and then Jenny called me, Jenny Monday, and she was like, I'm pretty sure she said, like, we're not totally sure about it, but we're gonna let you into the retreat. Yeah, which was so funny. And yeah, it completely changed me as a writer and I think as a person. So if you're sitting there and thinking that you want to be doing one of these things one day, I would say just work on that application.
That's so lovely. I think that's so important because everyone deserves the chance to develop their plays as well. Whether you have a lot of plays out and you're established or you're emerging and maybe writing your first play, as some of our cohort are.
Yeah, totally. And everyone, I think at some point is going to feel like they're a little bit of a hack or have like that moment of imposter syndrome. But a lot of people have walked through those doors and a lot of plays have walked out. And that's the whole point.
That it is. Thank you so much for joining us, Alison. Alison Crosby is the playwright for Irrelevant and part of our 2025 Playwrights Retreat cohort. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Micah.